When Robocop hit the cinemas in 1987, anyone would have been hard-pressed to anticipate that this would have become a huge science fiction franchise. The film is of course a very dystopian, futuristic film. It's a science fiction satire that features a lot of violence, and while sequels may have seemed inevitable once it made a certain amount of money, it didn't seem likely that it would be something that would be suited for a child's market. However, Marvel got the idea that this would make a great adaptation in their comic books, and shortly after, there followed a series of comic books based on Robocop and his world. It wasn't long until Dark Horse picked up the license after that, and around this time we also started to see things like animated cartoons, and of course, an inevitable toy line. In fact, we got several toy lines over the years. And the lines were quite extensive, and actually there were some surprises in here for me because I never realised they'd actually made an Ed 209. And a whole host of vehicles and figures with action features and break apart parts, fantastic stuff. But the Robocop brand sadly diminished over time, the TV series wasn't well received, and the commercial aspects of the brand was seen as diminishing. There was an attempt to reboot and revive the franchise in 2015 with a new film, but sadly this film was poorly received both commercially and critically. But the original 1987 film still remains a classic, and has a huge following to this date. NECA have made several Robocop figures across the years, but today I'm going to take a look at their ultimate Robocop figure, which incorporates all the best elements from across the different films. So I'll start off by talking about the packaging. It is very, very simply designed. Obviously we can see the Robocop helmet at the bottom there, and of course it is mostly just a figure in that clamshell packaging that we can see that makes up the presentation. On the back we can see a bit more of the actual figure in action with its various accessories on display. And you might notice that Robocop comes with an oversized gun arm. This is a real thing. This is actually taken from Robocop 3, as you can see here, so this is authentic. And yes, he also comes with the jetpack from Robocop 3. Again, this is something that legitimately happens in the film franchise, and it has been included here as well. So once the figure is outside of the packaging, you can see here the presentation is really, really nicely done. There's a lot of attention to detail on all the rivets and bolts and little bits and pieces from the costume are really accurately brought to life here in figure form, which is fantastic. Now you'll notice as well there's actually a slight purple pinkish wash in certain places in the armour, and this is really effective. Again, it gives it that metallic wash, but it is accurate to what you see in the film, and I think it's they've done a really lovely job of this. The articulation is solid. He can spin his head 360 degrees around, which is fantastic, and he's got a good range of motion when it comes to looking up and down as well, so that is really, really well done. He does have that chest articulation there, that ball joint in the chest, so he can spin that around in lots of different poses, which is fantastic. And it's just as well because he doesn't have any ab crunch and he can't swivel at the waist either. So you're really reliant on that chest piece there, and thankfully it gives it all the articulation that you need. He has ball jointed shoulders, and they can come out a fair distance and they can come in an awful lot, which is great. He does have a single jointed elbow, which doesn't extend a full 90 degrees, it's more like 45. And of course there is a swivel at the wrist as well, but not in the hand. Again, this is screen accurate though, so this is perfectly appropriate. He does have a swivel at the hip, but that's it. It's the legs won't kick in or out. He's got the single jointed knees as well, which again extend to 45 degrees, and he does have the ankle pivot. What you'll notice here is that little piston at the back there that moves up and down as you move the foot, which is really a nice touch. Now, one of the cool things about this figure is that NECA have tried to recreate this spring-loaded holster so that when you press a button, the thigh piece opens and you should be able to see his gun inside, which again is straight out of the film, and this is a fantastic mechanism to build into the toy. The mechanism does rely on a spring inside the thigh there, and also you'll see that button that you press directly links to the plastic piece that opens up. But this can take some time to master, as it's very fiddly, and it will give you sore thumbs as you try to get this to open correctly. But when you finally do get it open, you can see his gun is neatly stored inside his thigh piece there, which is fantastic. Really nice touch. However, once you've taken it out, you're going to have to try and close it again, and If you thought opening it was difficult, closing it is even worse. I've really struggled with this, particularly as the figure's got older. It's got much harder to get it back into place. It is held together, like I said, by 2 springs, and the plastic pieces are on a hinge that need to clip together. And you need it all to come together at the right sequence at the right time, otherwise you're going to have lots of problems. And it can be very frustrating when you're trying to just pop it in and it won't slide in. So yeah, this can take a little bit of work. But once he has his gun in hand, he looks absolutely fantastic. I think this is a brilliant look, and I have to take my hat off to NECA here because I feel like they've really managed to recreate Robocop in the 7th-inch scale, and it feels entirely screen accurate, and he just looks fantastic. And I love the way he perfectly holds his pistol there. It just looks brilliant. It looks like it's straight out the film. Now he does come loaded with a whole host of accessories, including his pistol, his machine gun arm, and this anti-tank weapon, which I think is from the first film, and of course his jetpack. So of course his left hand does pop off and you can replace it with the gun arm, and this looks fantastic. I love the attention to detail on this weapon here. I love that there's a little bit of paint wash in there to give it a sense of looking worn and a bit used, and yeah, it looks incredibly screen accurate, and I think, yeah, they've done an amazing job with it. By rights it should look really silly and over the top, but it looks great. So if you want to go the extra mile and you really want to arm Robocop up so he's ready for battle, you can give him the anti-tank gun as I've done here, and you can see he's ready for action now. He's ready for anything, and I think this looks really good. Again, it looks incredibly screen accurate, and yeah, it's just a really cool design. I actually really like this. One small thing to point out is that actually the anti-tank gun also has these little fold-out little stands as well. So if you wanted to, I think, put Robocop into a sniper position, you can do. You might struggle with that, but the functionality is there, which is great. And the strap is a soft plastic as well, so if you want, you can put it around Robocop to carry. And finally, here he is with his jetpack. The design may seem a little bit silly by today's standards, but again, it does have the virtue of being entirely screen accurate, and it works well. It fits him really nicely. Robocop can get his hands there through the handles, which are a sort of soft plastic, so he can perfectly grip it. And as you can see, there's a lot of attention to detail here in the jetpack. You can see all the little bits of pieces, the nuts and the bolts, the grooves and the joins, and it looks great. It looks lived in, it looks used, it looks fantastic. And I should point out, of course, that the arm of the jetpack is actually articulated as well, so it can move up and down with Robocop's arm, which I think, again, is a really nice thought on NECA's part, and the end result is great. And again, if you really want to load Robocop up with his ordnance and have the full effect, you can strap on his jetpack, and you can give him a variety of guns. You can give him his anti-tank gun, you can strap on his gun arm or his pistol, and you are ready for business. So, for the sake of size comparison, here he is with the NECA Ed 209. I think these two look fantastic together. They really do. The scale looks pretty much accurate to me. Obviously, the Ed 209, when he's fully extended, really towers over the Robocop. But yeah, they look nice in proportion, and yeah, this looks really good to me. Of course, it's been something of a fantasy in fan circles for a long time that Robocop and the Terminator would meet and fight. Of course, there's a whole stream of computer games and comics and toys just based on that concept. But thanks to NECA, you can actually make that dream come alive, because we can actually put the Robocop with the Terminator figure and see how they compare. And yeah, I mean, in terms of the scaling, they look really good to me. This looks pretty accurate from what I've seen in both the films, and yeah, I think this is, they're ready for battle. And there you have it. From my point of view, I don't have enough good things to say about this figure. I really love this Robocop. I have to say, NECA have really pulled it out the bag and produced a fantastic figure. I think it's screen accurate, I think it captures the fun of the character, and it just feels very authentic, just feels very real. And I love that. I love that attention to detail. I love the accessories it comes with, and I love that this is a Robocop that can be Robocop 1, Robocop 2, Robocop 3. Brilliant. I think really the only niggle that I have with this figure is that, yeah, sadly, that spring-loaded holster is very well intentioned. I love it as an idea and as a concept, but I think in practical terms it's quite a frustrating, fiddly, time-consuming element to the toy that really lets it down. But other than that, this is a real winner for me. I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, please do give it a like, and remember to subscribe, as I'll be posting more videos soon.